Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 5.
We are following some breaking news for you out of West Fargo. Police there say a man could face multiple charges after he led them on a chase following a domestic dispute in rural Mapleton. Officers responded to that domestic call this afternoon. That's when the man involved took police on a chase on his motorcycle into West Fargo. Police say the man eventually ditched his bike near Main Avenue and Cheyenne and ran waist deep into the Cheyenne River. Officers were able to talk the man out of the river. He is now possibly facing charges of fleeing and interfering with a 911 call. Today is a day to honor and remember our nation's heroes, those who have served and sacrificed for our freedom. Some see today as a chance to barbecue and catch some sales. But for veterans, as well as those they leave behind, the day is meant to be so much more. At Sunset Memorial Gardens in Fargo this morning, friends and families of loved veterans who have passed left flowers and flags in memory. Many say it's an ongoing tradition, like Rhino Duncan of Fargo, who came to visit his late grandfather who fought with the Navy in the Korean War.
Usually we do a little ride or we come out here to both our grave sites for our grandparents. So it's a big thing as far as anyone who's served over our country. But yeah, as far as Memorial Day, it's just a good day to get out and pay our respects to anybody that served. It's in the ground.
Events were held today at many cemeteries and parks throughout the FM area. We will have more on this tonight on Valley News Live at 6. Despite a little rain, thousands of Minnesotans gathered at Fort Snelling National Cemetery in Minneapolis this morning. Among those scheduled to speak were Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and U.S. Senator and presidential candidate Amy Klobuchar. There are more than 175,000 graves at Fort Snelling, and by this morning, each one had a flag. Senator Klobuchar called today a day of remembrance to those who made the ultimate sacrifice.
In the end, today is about those we have lost, as well as all our veterans and brave men and women in uniform serving today, whose spirit of duty has never wavered. Our support for you and your families must stay just as strong.
This is the second year that flags have been placed in front of every headstone. Last year was the first time in more than 30 years this happened, and it was done through the group Flags for Fort Snelling. Generations of veterans gathered at the Intrepid Sea, Air, and Space Museum this morning to commemorate Memorial Day. Veterans, active members, and elected officials, including New York City's mayor, were all in attendance. Today's event included the unfurling of a 100-foot American flag, a flyover of Navy jets, and a ceremonial wreath laying. Lieutenant Jack McCain was also on hand to speak with members of the media. He is the son of the late Senator John McCain, who was a veteran of the Navy during the Vietnam War.
I'm just proud to be in New York on Memorial Day. Recently came back from Afghanistan. This is really the first event I've seen, so this is wonderful. Glad to be here with my wife, Renee, who is also a service member.
During his remarks, the Admiral of the United States Navy thanked veterans like McCain for putting their lives on the line for our country. As many people spend the day honoring those who paid the ultimate price serving their country, there is one Vietnam veteran living in North Fargo who has had this Memorial Day weekend disrupted. James Barr flies both the American and Marine flags outside of his house at all times, but over the weekend had these flags stolen out of his front yard. He says the flags mean a great deal to him and he just wants them returned. We'll hear from James and have his full story tonight on Valley News Live at 9 on the Fargo CW and Valley News Live at 10. The sun made an appearance today, so did the warmer temps. Let's find out if the rain will stay away for the most part this evening. Here's Hutch with your no-wait weather. Hutch?
Well, for us, we're staying on the dry side. And finally, as you mentioned, a few breaks in the clouds. The visible satellites showing those quite nicely. As we take a look in the Southern Valley, we see the clouds beginning to part. However, we still have some lingering cloudiness across eastern and southern North Dakota as we head into the evening. Rain showers exiting the Twin Cities. Maybe the Twins will get a chance to play some ball on this Memorial Day. It's cooler to the east under those clouds, 40s and 50s there. Many of us in our area in the 60s. This evening, light winds. We'll have mostly cloudy skies with a few breaks in them as we go later into the overnight hours. Temperatures slipping into the 50s this evening and 40s overnight. It does look like there will be some spring-like weather to enjoy in the planning forecast, and I'll have details on that here in just a few moments.
All right, thanks, Hutch. Officials say at least one tornado was confirmed in Iowa this afternoon. The National Weather Service confirmed the tornado in Floyd County, Iowa. Much of that area was under a tornado warning until 2 this afternoon. The picture shows a funnel moving across the county with damage to the Ag Center and the fairgrounds there. A 40-year-old man is dead and 2 others are injured after a head-on crash near Ross, North Dakota. Officials say they received a call around 1:40 in the morning of a wrong-way driver traveling westbound on U.S. Highway 2 between Stanley and Ross. When the vehicles collided, the wrong-way traveling Nissan rolled in the median. Both people inside were ejected. The passenger died on the scene. The driver has injuries. The driver of the Dodge SUV was not injured, but 2 passengers were.
Medicine doesn't happen 8 to 5, Monday through Friday.
How much would you pay to have your doctor on call 24/7? It's something to consider as Sanford thinks about starting a concierge medicine program here in the Fargo-Moorhead area. Valley News Team's Veronica Marshall has the details and why not everyone is buying in.
And I see a lot of patients who come in who really like their primary care doctor or primary care provider, but just don't get to spend enough time with them.
Hunt says the current medical system doesn't allow doctors to help their patients as much as they'd like, but that could be changing. Sanford is looking into starting a concierge medicine program, which would give patients 24/7 access to their doctors for a fee. Hunt says most programs charge around $50 to $100 a month, but the extra care is worth it.
We take our time. We're able to spend hours with the patient if we need to have that amount of time with them and to get to the root of the medical problem.
But not everyone is convinced. The people I spoke with say when it comes to making healthcare more accessible, it's more important to lower costs than change doctors' hours.
If anything could be done to lower the prices, healthcare seems pretty brutally expensive to get anything done. Just to show up at the clinic or anything like that is always really expensive. I would be looking at things that could maybe bring costs down. That's probably my biggest concern.
Those concerns can be found across the country, with one study finding more than 40% of Americans skip the doctor's office entirely due to cost. Still, Hunt says better care can lead to lower costs, creating healthier people and healthier finances.
I would actually argue that you take better care of your patient, less time spent in urgent care, less time spent in emergency centers, so overall improve costs.
In Fargo, Veronica Marshall, Valley News Live.
Sanford's concierge medicine program could roll out within the next year. North Korea's short-range missiles are well within reach of Japan, where President Trump is wrapping up his 4-day visit. The Japanese prime minister called the tests regrettable, but Trump says he's not concerned. Overall, the two say the trip has been productive, with President Trump saying 2 countries could have a new trade agreement by August, and the prime minister saying he will act as a mediator between the U.S. and Iran, something the president says he's open to. With summer finally here, many in the valley might be taking their furry friends to a boarding facility before heading on vacation. But one Facebook post from a Grand Forks man has some wondering if that's a good idea. He says he was asked to pick up his dog early after it was allegedly being aggressive to employees. That's when he says he was told not all staff members have formal dog training. This prompted Valley News Team's crime and safety reporter, Bailey Hurley, to find out if that's also the case for doggy daycares here in Fargo.
For the pups who end up here while mom and dad are away, it truly is a home away from home. Taking in all breeds and all behavior types, there can be a lot going on, which is why Jill Katormson has new pups go through a temperament test before they stay over.
I want the dog to get to know the place, get the smells, get to know me, but yet mom and dad are still there. That way it's not something scary for them.
And on top of that, she says all of her employees go through strict training on how to handle different breeds and situations.
The big thing is you just have to know what you're watching for, know their body language, know their signs.
Using her knowledge and experiences as a vet tech to help keep both the dogs and her staff safe.
I truly believe in baby steps with them. They're just like scared kids. If you drop your kid off at preschool and they're scared, you don't want to just up and leave them.
But that's not the case for all boarding places in the FM area. Some tell me there are just a few staff members who are trained, while the rest of the employees simply just have to have experience with animals. Ann Gatormson says she's seen a lot of incidents that could have been prevented if all employees at places like hers were properly trained.
As long as they're safe and as long as the dog is safe, everything else can be taken care of. In my mind, there's never a bad animal. It's proper training, it's proper care, and making sure the animal has what it needs.
In Fargo, Bailey Hurley, Valley News Live.
Experts say you should do your homework on where you will bring your pet, saying it's best to give a doggy daycare or a boarding facility a test stay before you drop them off the first time.